morning, everyone. The topic for today on COVID is virology and transmission-based dynamics, which is the basic one. So to start with, this is the starting point of COVID-19 from one person to another. It's the sneeze. It's a research article which they published in NEGM and was captured with a high resolution camera showing a sneeze, which takes around 120 to 150 milliseconds to complete. So the ejection lasts up to 150 milliseconds, and which transitions from a freely evolving turbulent puff cloud, and the largest droplets rapidly settle within 1 to 2 meters away from the person, and the smaller and the evaporating droplets remain suspended and can land even 6 to 8 meters away. And that's where the COVID starts its transmission. So coming to the basic virology regarding coronaviruses, it belongs to the order Nidovirales and family of Coronaviridae and subfamily which contains Torovirinae and Coronavirinae, out of which we are concerned with the Coronavirinae subfamily, and the genuses which are all alpha, beta and gamma delta coronaviruses, of which alpha and beta forms the main group of viruses that causes human diseases. So coming to the alpha and beta coronaviruses, alpha virus contains coronavirus strain 229E, as well as beta contains HKU1, NL63 and OC43, which are all causing mild illnesses in humans. Whereas we know that MERS, SARS and the present COVID-19 are the severe forms of disease which are all caused by beta coronaviruses. So coming to the hosts, the natural and the intermediate host. The natural host includes most of the coronaviruses. The natural hosts are bats as well as rodents, whereas the intermediate host from where the human gets its infection, or usually for the SARS that happened in 2002-2003 was the intermediate host was palm civets, and MERS was a dromedary camels. Whereas the SARS-CoV-2, it's still debated. Mostly they are suspecting pangolins over it. So as we can see on the right side, most of the natural hosts are either bat or rats. Intermediate hosts ranges from dromedary camels, bovines, palm civets and pigs. So coming to the simplified structure of SARS-CoV-2, in which the general viral structure consists of a nucleocapsid with the outer membrane proteins containing spike glycoprotein, which is the most common virulent factor that is being discussed, as it explains that it enters the human epithelial cells by attaching itself towards ACE2 transmembrane receptor, that is angiotensin converting enzyme 2 transmembrane receptor, which are present in most of the body cells, especially in lungs as well as GIT, where it causes most of its symptoms. So coming to the virology of the three most common and the serious coronaviral diseases, SARS-CoV-1 that happened in 2002-2003, the receptor of both SARS-CoV as well as SARS-CoV-2 are the same, that's ACE2 transmembrane receptor, whereas MERS, it was dipeptidyl peptidase 4. In this, the case fatality rate can be seen like it's very low. It's compared to SARS-CoV as well as MERS-CoV. SARS-CoV-2 has a lower case fatality rate, whereas the infectiousness is more, which will be later depicted. So coming to the modes of transmission of the virus, as per WHO scientific briefing, respiratory droplets and the contact routes as per current evidence are the modes of transmission. The direct contact with infected people and indirect contact with surfaces in the immediate environment of the infected person, that is the object used on the infected or by the infected person. And human coronaviruses can remain infectious on inanimate surfaces like steel, glass or ceramics at room temperature for up to 9 days. Whereas increasing temperatures decreases the survival of virus on inanimate objects. So droplet versus airborne transmission, which has been debated for long. The airborne transmission means like the particles less than 5 micrometers in diameter, which usually result after evaporation of the larger droplets or exist within the dust particles. This means that the airborne transmission, it can happen even for a longer distance between the patient. That is, even in an inside room, and even it can flow towards the other. Whereas airborne transmission is possible or debated in aerosol generating procedures in terms of COVID-19 situation. So as far as the analysis of the 75,465 in China COVID-19 cases, airborne transmission was not at all reported as per WHO's analysis. And COVID-19 infection may lead to intestinal infection and be present in feces, which has been proved only by a single study, and the route of transmission is still debated. So coming to the transmission dynamic components, according to epidemiology perspective, the total cases reported, incubation period, reproduction number, case fatality rate based on age-wise distribution, case fatality and doubling times, transmission predicted models for the future post-pandemic period are the components which are going to be discussed now. So coming to the statistics, as we all know, the current active cases as per yesterday 5 p.m., the active cases are around 1.8 million, whereas with a critically ill of around 57,637. Whereas coming to India, as of yesterday's 5 p.m. status, according to Ministry of Family Wealth and Health, Family Welfare and Health, 20,177 active cases and 826 deaths have been reported. So coming to the first incubation period, there are many articles which propose a proper incubation period, out of which the one which has been like in around March is the estimated median incubation period up to that time was estimated to be 5.1 days and the mean of 5.5 days. Whereas in the graph we can see that around 11 to 12 days, most of the cases have got their symptoms till then. And out of which 97.5% of the infected persons symptoms appear by around 11.5 days. That is maximum. That is the reason for keeping in quarantine period of 2 weeks. Fewer than 2.5% are symptomatic within 2.2 days. So coming to the reproduction number, which is R0, the minimum R0 for China. R0 means especially that a single infected person will infect how many other person is what you call by a reproduction number or R0. So the minimum R0 for China and overseas was 1.4, while the maximum that was reported was 7.23. In Italy, it was estimated to be 4.2. Whereas COVID-19 can be considered as a high transmission disease with respect to SARS as well as MERS that happened before. Whereas the WHO's estimate of the R0 number was 1.4 to 2.5. So we need to know about the factors that affects the R0, that is the environmental conditions which are conducive for the viral transmission, agent hosts, policies on environmental control, on implementation of social distancing and banning public gatherings, access to public health resources based on the country's healthcare facilities, contact rate, which means again the social distancing measures, how effectively we are following it, population density with respect to different countries, social organization and seasonality of the infections. So next, coming to the case fatality rate estimation, the pitfalls which we need to remember are differences in case definition as regard to COVID-related deaths. Usually in the start of epidemic, there were so much confusion regarding the COVID-related deaths definition. So as we can see, Italy counted all COVID positive patients, even if they die of other comorbidities were taken as COVID-related deaths, which we all know that the case fatality rate in the initial part of epidemic in Italy was very high. And the denominator differences as like asymptomatic cases being screened apparently decreases the case fatality rate, but also paves a way for isolation strategies to be stringent. And the demographic differences like age and sex ratios, social distancing practices also affect case fatality rates. So this is the case fatality rate and characteristics of patients dying in relation to COVID-19 and the comparison with the China as of February 11, whereas Italy as of March 17. As we can see, the age increases, the case fatality rate increases in both China as well as Italy, whereas the overall fatality reported from China was from Italy was 7.2, whereas from China it was 2.3%. So we need to remember that case fatality rate has many pitfalls. One of it is time to death, lag time to death, which means when a patient gets the infection today, he may die, like he will start having the symptoms like around 5 days for a median value, and may get into ICU by around 10 days and die in another 2 or 3 days. So there is a lag time of around 10 to 14 days. For calculating a case fatality rate on today, the number of cases as a denominator to be taken as 14 days before. These are the pitfalls that usually happen in a fast spreading epidemics like COVID-19. So they have found like the cumulative cases, especially when you take China, the cumulative deaths were 3,015 and confirmed cumulative cases were 80,565. The crude fatality rate was 3.74. Whereas the adjusted dates, as I explained now, like the number of deaths like 15 days back has to be taken, and the adjusted cumulative confirmed cases 15 days back will be 75,569, and the adjusted case fatality rate was around 3.48%. Similarly for others. So especially we need to look into the table about the cruise ship, which is a very controlled environment where there is the patient cannot go out of the ship, or no new infections can happen, especially in a quarantined cruise ship Diamond Princess, where the cumulative deaths was 6 out of the total cumulative cases were 706. The crude fatality rate was between 0.63 to 0.85, which is around 1%, which we can take as the case fatality rate, according to the calculation from the Diamond Princess quarantine ship. So next, now we need to think about the post-pandemic period, where how SARS-CoV-2 will be in circulation, how will be the transmission dynamics when the pandemic has been controlled effectively. So they have made a paper on transmission patterns with the strains from OC43 and HKU1 were superimposed on SARS-CoV-2, and the estimates of seasonality, immunity, and cross-immunity from beta coronaviruses of both the strains have been superimposed, and the model of SARS-CoV-2 transmission has been explained. So SARS-CoV-2 can proliferate at any time of year is what is the present concept, in which the winter and the spring establishment favored outbreaks with lower peaks, whereas winter establishments led to more acute outbreaks. So regardless of the establishment time, substantial outbreaks can happen anytime post-pandemic period. Next, if the immunity to SARS-CoV-2 is not permanent, it will likely enter into regular circulation. Much like the pandemic influenza, SARS-CoV-2 can have a long-term circulation along with other human beta coronaviruses. Short-term immunity on the order of 40 weeks, like OC43 and HKU1 strain, may favor the establishment of annual SARS-CoV-2 outbreaks, like we have the influenza epidemics. Long-term immunity for 2 years, if it is being able to confer, may favor a biennial outbreaks. So, and the next one is, if immunity to SARS-CoV-2 is permanent, could disappear for 5 or more years after causing a major outbreak. Like we have the SARS and the MERS, which are not now, if there is an outbreak, either it's from the lab or it has to be confirmed from a clinical specimen that is appropriate. And low levels of cross immunity from other coronaviruses against SARS-CoV-2 may make the SARS-CoV-2 to die out, but only to research after a few years when there is vaccine immunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajagopal. That was very useful. So you told us the surface viability is 9 days.
Yes, sir, that is the maximum viability,
sir. Which surface was that?
Sir, there are different
show the slides
surfaces.
again.
Sir?
Show the
1 minute.
Which study is that?
Yes, sir. Sir, I can share the study, sir. I haven't quoted here. I can share the study where there are different surfaces like steel, glass, ceramics, which had the maximum of around 5 days, and the reported ones are up to 9 days, sir, at room temperature.
Okay. And reproductive number, what did you say?
Reproductive.
Yes, DJ sir is saying something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There was a study that looked at various surfaces.
Yes, sir.
The highest was plastic.
Sir?
Highest was plastic.
Okay.
Plastic.
Okay, sir.
Then stainless steel.
Okay, sir.
Then wood, cardboard. Copper
Okay.
was the least. Copper. Was,
Okay.
so, it is actually a study, but the point to understand also is that the numbers rapidly drop. So 1 day later, it is going to be a fraction of what it was, and second, third, fourth, and so on. So what we are talking about is the minutest residue RNA that can be isolated or shown.
And R naught, what did you say?
So WHO's estimate is 1.4 to 2.5, sir. Whereas the maximum from China as well as overseas was around 7.23 is what is reported.
Okay. Hmm.
7.2.
What is R naught?
Sir?
What is R naught?
Sir, R naught is if one infected person infects 2%, then the R naught will be 2, sir.
Okay, it is the number of people one case will totally infect.
Yes, sir.
That is R naught. What is secondary attack rate?
Sir?
What is secondary attack rate?
Couldn't hear.
Secondary attack rate.
Secondary attack rate. Secondary attack rate is the person from the index case has spread to a next person, and from where it gets spread secondary, sir. I'm not sure about that.
Am I audible, Rajagopal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So secondary attack rate really is the percentage of contacts who will develop disease. Suppose an index case has 10 contacts.
Yes, sir.
How many of them will develop disease is the secondary attack rate.
Okay.
So if, as of now, it is about 15% or 20%.
Okay.
It is not 90%.
Okay.
That's the secondary attack rate.
Okay.
Can I share the screen? This is regarding the data which DJ sir told. I'll show that.
Yes, sir.
I need permission for sharing screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll do it. Sorry, can you check now?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the study I think DJ sir quoted, NEGM study. And SARS was more stable on plastic, stainless steel than on copper and cardboard. And viable virus was detected up to 72 hours after application to these surfaces. Although the virus titers was greatly reduced to after 72 hours on plastic. So the maximum surface viability is found in plastic, and that too 72 hours. So I'm not sure about the data of 9 days.
Okay.
This is specifically for SARS-CoV-2. And these 72 hours, that's the rationale by which I think they advise reuse of N95 after 3 days. So they say each person can have 4 N95 masks, and then they reuse it every 4th day. So that takes into account that so by 4th day, even in plastic, the surface viability greatly reduces. And regarding R naught, so this is another study which was published in the CDC website, which shows that the recalculated median R naught is 5.7.
It's not open here.
Oh, it's not at open.
Yes.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
CDC emerging infectious diseases. So they calculated the R naught as 5.7. So the earlier calculation of 2, 1 and things like that are probably not right. So that's why it is spreading so rapidly.
Absolutely true. See, R naught is a changing parameter. One of the slides Rajagopal showed is the factors that affect R naught. The R naught today with clampdown is far, far less than what it would be had life gone on as usual. So the R naught when things come back to normal, may become 5.7 or even 8 or whatever. We cannot say. That really depends upon the various factors that I think you listed in one of your slides.
Thank you very much, Rajagopal. It was useful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raj, for the nice presentation.
Thank you.